Hello and welcome to Bun News. So here I'll be sharing all the latest from the business world. So if you like the sound of that, please keep watching. So I've been thinking of a restructure. I've been thinking of moving things around a little bit. So it's still going to be all the latest from the business world, but I want us to now do it from a reflective perspective. So for example, if the latest thing in the news is that Facebook bought 50 million shares from Uber, it's just an example. We will talk about it, then we'll also reflect on it. So that as you're leaving this video, you're leaving with nuggets, you're leaving with practical things that you can use in your business, practical lessons that we can take away from watching this video. So I'm just thinking of introducing that maybe once in a while. So let me know what you think about that. Yeah, just a little restructure here and there. So for today, I'm going to be talking about Airbnb. So we all know Airbnb. Airbnb is that website where, say for example, I'm going to America and I need a place to stay. Instead of using an hotel, I will go on Airbnb. I would, check for places around where I'm going to be, and then I'll apply for a room. So whoever I'm going to pay some money to that person. So what that person would do is that a percentage of the amount that I would pay would be given to Airbnb. Yeah. So what's happening right now with Airbnb was that they were listed on the stock market for $100 billion. So originally they were not on the stock market, and right now they were listed on the stock market for $100 billion. And in April, when they valued their company, the company was around $18 billion. And right now the valuation of the company is around $100 billion. So do you understand that? From 18 billion to $100 billion. So $18 billion in April, $100 billion in November. So the valuation is really ridiculous. It's really, really high. So I felt like there's probably something that they're doing right. So that's the reason why I picked this subject, because I feel like there's so much that we can learn from this company, from a valuation from $18 billion to a valuation of $100 billion. So just a short background of the company. Airbnb was formed in August 2008, and that means it's been in the market for about 12 years. So it's been running for 12 years, and it was founded by three guys, Joe, Nathan, and Brian. I can't remember their surname, but it was founded by those three guys. So we all know what happened. Coronavirus happened in March. So in March of this year, a lot of countries were on lockdown. So there was no traveling, from one country to another. And so there was really no business. So the most company that suffered from the coronavirus pandemic was mostly the hotel industry. And so it really affected Airbnb as well. So Airbnb was also affected due to the coronavirus, and the CEO, Brian Chesky, had to lay off about 1,900 staff. And that accounts to about 25% of the company. He was actually crying on the phone and was like, he's so sorry he had to let them go, but due to the coronavirus pandemic, he has to do what's best for his company, and that's why he has to let them go and stuff like that. Airbnb wasn't doing very well at all. They had to take a loan of about $2 billion. So later on in the year, the company started coming up again, because people were looking for somewhere to self-isolate. People were looking for somewhere to, to stay and just protect their family. Some people didn't want to be around, the home all the time. So they just choose to, instead of having locked in their home, they choose to go somewhere outside London, for example, just to stay, get fresh air, and, just get a feel of traveling out without really traveling out, if that makes sense. So the company started coming up again, around May and August. So I'll just move straight on to the lessons that, we can learn from this company. The first lesson that we can learn from this company is that as a CEO, as the owner of a company, it is so important that, you follow your guts. So basically, it could have listed the company on the stock market in April, because obviously there wasn't a lot of funds. So it could have listed the company on the stock market in April. And if he had done that, it wouldn't be getting the $100 billion valuation that it has today. So it is so important that as a business owner, you follow your gut, you listen to yourself, because if you didn't think of this business, it won't be around anyway. If you're the brain behind the business and it's because of you this company is running, it is so important then that, you listen to your gut. Listen to the accountants, listen to the lawyers, really look at your books and know what's going on, but most importantly, you follow your guts. Another lesson that I want to add off the back of that is that it is so important that you don't rush. So this is so important. Don't rush. So if you're starting a company, don't rush to put your company on the stock market, because if you think about it, Facebook took his time. He didn't rush to, list his company on the stock market. He took his time. He made sure that he got the valuation that he wanted before he decided to list his company on the stock market. And if you think about it, this is also what this Airbnb guy is doing. He took his time. He really stalled. Although one of the reasons why he was really stalling was because he wanted to do so many things. So he wanted to really own the travel market. So he wanted to go into like giving people an experience, when they get to their host's house. And he was also thinking about owning airlines, the cinematic experience. He was thinking about so much. He was trying to do so much, So it is so important that you wait before you list your company on the stock market, because like I said, if you had done it 2 years ago or in August, it wouldn't have a $100 billion valuation that it has right now. So it is so important that you take your time. Don't rush to go on the stock market. There are so many other ways to raise funds apart from going to the stock market. You can get a loan from the bank. You can do so many other things apart from getting listed on the stock market. So it is so important that you take your time. Another lesson that we can learn from here is that like I said, he wanted to go into so many things, so many other things. And the investors were not really excited about that because they wanted to cash out. They wanted to make their money. And so it is really important that you focus on your core business. So it is so important that you build your core business to the point that it is really, really strong before you go into so many other things. So if, for example, I'm in the business of making cups, it's only logical that I decide to go into spoons and forks and knives and doing so many other things. But if you do all those other things, they eat into your profit, and it will be difficult for an investor to come on board, and to join into your company. So it is so important that you focus on your core business and make sure that your core business is very, very strong before you decide to go into so many other things. Another lesson that we can learn from Airbnb is that it is so important that you have cash in the bank. I know I keep saying so important, but they are also important. It is so important that you have some cash in the bank. So one of the reasons why investors are really happy to, invest in this company, even though it is so clear that the valuation is massive, is that it has a lot of cash in the bank. So having a lot of cash in the bank means that you can keep running. If anything were to happen, you can always have your cash to fall back on. So that gives investors that security that, your business will not fold up in a few years. So it is so important that as a business owner, you have cash in the bank. Another lesson that we can learn from here is that as a business owner, you might need to buy your competitors. And I know that sounds really nasty, but you might need to buy some of your competitors, because if you think about it, Facebook had to buy WhatsApp, Facebook bought Instagram. And while I was reading about the company Airbnb, I found out that Airbnb bought about 7 other companies. So he acquired 7 other companies that were doing things that were similar to what he was doing. So it is so important that when you see a small company that is coming up, that is doing something very similar to what you're doing, it's so important that you put an eye out for all these kind of things. So look at Uber. Uber was doing really well, but now there are other companies that are like Uber. There is Bolt, and there's other companies that does basically what Uber is doing. So it is so important that as a business owner, you look out for businesses that are doing like what you're doing. And if you think about it, with technology business, there are things that you can easily copy. There are businesses that you can easily copy. So it is so important that, you watch out for new companies that are coming out, and maybe don't rule out buying them off, because you don't want them to become really big competitors later in the future. Another lesson we can learn from Airbnb is that as a business owner, you need to know the time and the season. So there is time for different things, there is season for different things, and this is the time and the season for technology. So if you have any technology idea, this might be the time to just go all out, and go for it, because Zoom is doing really, really well, and it's a technology business. Even Tesla, all these technology companies, they have really crazy valuation. Finding investors may really not be hard at this time. So it's so important to know the time and the season. You don't need 10 million staff in your business. And I know that this can be very controversial depending on the kind of business that you're running, but You don't need 10 million staff in your business. Because if you think about it, when he let go of 1,900 staff, then his company started doing very well and it got the valuation that it needed. So it is so important to really think about the number of staff you have in your business, especially if you're a startup company or you're a mid-sized company. Really think about the number of staff that you have in your business. Some of your staff can be on part-time, some of them can be on working from home basis. You don't need to be looking at 10 million staff in your business. If there's anything COVID has taught us, is that businesses can work from home. You know, businesses can work remotely. So this is something that I feel like, you know, small business owners can really take away. You don't need to get a lawyer sitting looking at you in your business for £100,000 a year. You can get a lawyer that could be a part-time lawyer. You know, you can get, you can do so many things. You can be flexible with it, but you don't need so many staff looking at you every day. Yeah, we don't need that much stuff. So I'll look at the story and I'll read through all the comments underneath the Airbnb stories and everything like that. And I found out that although the valuation is really high, people are happy to invest in the company, and it's because they're already invested in it. So say, for example, I've got 5 properties and 5 of my properties are listed on Airbnb. And every time someone chooses to stay at my property, I have to pay a certain amount of money to Airbnb. I would always be paying this money to Airbnb. So it only makes sense to be a part of it. So that's why a lot of people were not very, they didn't really see it as a big deal, because they felt like, you know, they felt like they deserve it. Some of the competitors of Airbnb are Booking.com, Expedia, and all the hotels that you can think of. So even Booking.com, their valuation is at $86 billion, while Airbnb is at $100 billion. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you were educated, empowered, and share this video. Share it to your friends, share it to business owners, share it to students, share it to business students, whoever that you know that will be educated from this video. Just share it with them. And yeah, I'll see you in my next one. Thank you.